So a few things about the Benihana case study. The first thing is that it's strange to sit and stare at a little green dot the whole time we're talking. So on the Benihana case study, I'm not sure that I have a lot to add. What I'm going to say is going to be anything terribly new compared to what I already wrote in the syllabus, but hopefully this will be helpful in some way. Length. You're wondering about length. I think the syllabus says 3 or 4 pages. Single space, double space. Honestly, I don't really care. I want you to say a lot of good things. I want you to have a lot of interesting things to say. And when I'm thinking about how long a paper should be, this is what I always think about. If you've ever seen the BBC where they're showing the House of It Must Be Commons, they sit on long benches facing each other, and somebody on one side makes some point, and then the Prime Minister, and I picture John Major in this because that's how long it's been since I've seen this, stands up and slams his notebook down on the table and stands up and says, "Well, the right honourable gentleman, blah 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 blah," and then he sits back down. And that's what a paper should be. Say what you have to say, and then stop talking. So if you have 3 or 4 pages worth of interesting things to say, that's how long your paper should be. The most brutal thing in the world to me is if you've got 3 pages worth of things to say and you stretch it out over 10 pages. It's just horrible, okay? So say what you have to say and then stop. So I know if I say 3 or 4 pages, I'm going to get a bunch of things that would be 2 pages and then a little thing on the top, and that's okay as long as you had a lot of interesting things to say in those 2 1/4 pages. So what do I want you to talk about? What I like about the Benihana case study, I know it's old, but there are things about the way the restaurant chain is set up, the way the restaurant is set up, that are different from any other restaurant, or at least any restaurant at that time. There are competitors that do the same thing now, but it's very different from any other restaurants that you would have been to, and so just that difference in the cooking process translates into differences in the variety of inventory they have to hold, and the way they hold it, and the way they design their jobs, and sort of support staff they need, and the way they design the kitchen, and the way they lay out the restaurant, and the way they lay out the waiting room, and the way they process people into the place, and the way they batch people into the place. And they do interesting things about the way they choose the location. So I want you to think through all the things that we've talked about in this semester, and see if there's something interesting to say there. And if there isn't, I guess you could say there's not anything interesting to say about a given topic, but so think about the things that we've talked about this semester and how Benihana's decisions, Rocky Aoki's decisions, have affected the efficiency and the effectiveness of the restaurants. It could be that a lot of them have helped the restaurant, and it could be that some of them, in your opinion, have hurt the success of the restaurant. And I want you to talk about how those things that you're talking about, have they had an impact on efficiency, and have they had an impact on effectiveness? So that's what I want you to talk about, and I want you to talk about it for as long as it takes you to talk about it. I mean, if you can write me 10 interesting pages, I would love to read that. But it's hard to imagine how you could really come up with 10 pages of interesting, insightful things to say. I guess if you double space, maybe. But so I hope that's helpful. Feel like I might be forgetting to say something. This was my second take at recording this. There was an audio problem the first time. If I think of it, I'll put a message on the class website. The assignment is not for you to come up with a list of where the restaurants are, or for you to tell me the fact that they tried sushi and it failed, or the fact that they did try frozen dinners and those failed. I have all kinds of information about that, which I could share with you later. But I just want you to read it the way the restaurant has changed. If you have been to a restaurant and you want to talk about that, fine. Or like, you something like, well, in the case they talk about maybe we'll try doing this, and then in my own experience I actually saw that. If you have had that experience and you want to talk about it, fine. But the assignment is not go to Benihana and write me a restaurant review. And so, yeah, don't worry about anything outside the information the way it's presented in the case. If you happen to have some and it's relevant and you want to present it, great, but that shouldn't be the focus of what you're doing. The main part should be what I just described.